What's up, my subscribers? We are back, and Ryan Garcia with another breathtaking display, and I want to talk about that. Obviously, he displayed great skills, speed, and punching power, and now everyone wants to know, is this fight with Gervonta Tank Davis gonna happen? Before we go on, you can grab some merch. I'm going to put the link down in the description. There's loads of things to pick from. This is just an example. It's got the strip on the back. Let me turn around. You see that there? So I've got loads of different styles, different colors. Support your man. Go and get yourself some merch. But Ryan Garcia, everyone wants to see Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, not only I'm a professional boxing trainer, I'm a professional boxing manager as well. So I manage fighters as well. So I'm not stupid enough to, sit here and think this fight will happen, because big fights like this, they take a long time. I mean, look at Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather. It took years before that fight happened, and you could say they fought, past their best against each other. This is one of those fights. I'm going to teach you something in boxing, right? No one knows. When us as the people looking from the outside, fans, and they want information. Do you ever see a contract? Do you ever see emails? Do you ever see phone calls? You don't see none of that. So all you can go on is what the fighters are saying to each other. Oh yeah, I tried to make the fight. But he doesn't want it. And then the other person going, hell no, he's scared to fight me. I want the fight. I want him next. After their fights and their interviews, I want him next. And then the next fight, they're not fighting them. They're fighting someone else. There's loads of things that go into making fights happen. Me personally, I think when you get to a certain point in your career and you're at the elite level and you've got your own promotions, like Gervonta Davis has got his own promotions now, for example, I think you should be the one to be like, that's the fight I want next. And if I don't get it, I'm not fighting anyone else. That's the fight I want next. I really think if two people want to fight, they can make it happen. And I'll be truthful with you. Like in boxing, you get a lot of people that do this. They maneuver themselves like this and put themselves in position to be world champions, to have the right fights where it's not damaging to them, but still creditable. They're very smart in the way they go about things. Boxing is a very dirty business. It's not so simple as they get in the ring and they fight whoever they want to fight. No. It doesn't work like that. As I said, a lot of fighters, they do this. Yeah? And the people behind them, supporting them, like promoters, managers, want them to do this. Now, is going around avoiding fighters, a thing where you could turn around and say they're scared to fight them? It depends who you are. I'm not going to go as far as saying they're scared to fight them. It's just more about business, right? If you think about that like this, boxing is a very short career. You got to make as much money as you can in this sport before you retire. It's not like a normal job where you retire at 65 and you got pension and this and that. You got a very short career, so you got to do everything you can to make enough money so when you finish boxing you can live nice, you know what I mean? And you got investments, whatever businesses you're investing in. And to do that, you got to be a bit smart. It's not that you're avoiding fighters. It's just you got to be a bit smart in the way you go about things. So, for example, if you got a world champion here and he's a super world-class elite of elite world champion, but in the same division, you got another world champion over here, but that world champion is not at this level, but he managed to win a world title belt because maybe he fought the right person at the right time. And then who do you think you're going to go for? You're going to go for the lesser opponent beat that opponent, become a world champion. Now you can say, I'm a world champion. And guess what? When you're a world champion and you defend that belt a number of times, you're making money and you're stacking up that money. That big fight will always be there. You know what I mean? Whether it's in 5 years' time or whether it gets to a point where you're both over the hill, it's always going to be there. Because as long as that person keeps the belt and that person keeps the belt. Is it wrong? Yes, for the neutrals, for the fans that want big fights, yes, it's wrong. But I also understand it from a business point of view. Because at the end of the day, boxing is a very dangerous sport. You can die in this sport, and that's the hard truth. And that's why I always say, when people want to be boxers and they first come to me, or they enter a gym and they want to be boxers, and I always tell them the truth. I don't sugarcoat nothing, man. I'm not like, yeah, give it a go. No, the first thing I say, are you sure you want to do it? Because at the end of the day, you're putting your life at risk. You could die in this sport. It's not a game. You know what I mean? People need to know that, the truth. So you got to forgive some fighters for looking after their careers and making maneuvers like that. I think it's a very smart thing to do. And like we're talking about, like Jake Paul on the YouTube side of things, you know, I can talk about YouTube, even though I talk about Ryan Garcia because he's a YouTube sensation as well. But while we're on that topic of making the right moves, look at Jake Paul. Now, I'm not going to lie. I was one of those people when Jake Paul first come around. I was like, fuck Jake Paul, man. You know what I mean? Coming in there to our sport, you've got fighters that work their whole life and they never see that kind of money. Never get on a pay-per-view event. They never see that kind of, a show of that magnitude. And they're grinding every day since little kids. So, you get your back up a bit. But when I put my business brain on, my management brain on, and I sat back and I was like, wait a minute, who the fuck wouldn't do what Jake Paul's doing? If you've got the fan base that he has, and you've got the opportunity to make millions off the back of having that fan base by creating this YouTube boxing world, where I think it come from Joe Weller and KSI are the first ones that started all this, and then Jake Paul, Logan Paul, etc. They've done something great here, and they've found a niche where YouTubers can fight other YouTubers or celebrities or whatever, and make it a success. And that's what Jake Paul's done. And anyone would do that. I mean, I would do that. If someone tomorrow goes, hey, do you want 100,000 to do a 4-round fight? Of course I'm going to do it. Against what? Against some YouTuber or against some influencer or whatever. Of course you're going to do it, because it's putting food on the plate, for you, for your family, or for whatever the reason you're making the money for. So you can't put Jake Paul down for that. He's actually brought attention to the mainstream of boxing. I mean, look at lately you got KSI. You got KSI versus Wasabi live on DAZN pay-per-view. Now, DAZN is a massive platform for professional boxing. That's where Eddie Hearn and Matchroom holds his shows. So they're doing it on the biggest of the biggest platforms, everyone. So you got to respect that. And I respect that. You know what I mean? As a businessman, I respect that. And Jake Paul, he's done maneuvers like this, Has he fought any pro boxers? Okay, he's fighting a pro boxer now, Hasim Rahman Jr., but look how long it's taken him to get there. And he's picked the right fights. The only fight I didn't really agree with is the basketball player. It's because that basketball player didn't know shit. You know what I mean? I mean, he's a basketball player. I didn't agree with that. It's kind of like a bullying. You know what I mean? Obviously, that basketball player done it for some good money, but I didn't like that fight. But other than that, he's picked the right kind of fights for his level, because obviously he needs to learn his trade as he's going along to be able to get to the point where he can fight who he's fighting now, which is Hasim Rahman Jr. So that's the way the business works, people. So when it comes to Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Tank Davis, I'm not convinced it will happen next, but I'm really looking forward to that fight happening. So after seeing Ryan Garcia versus Javier Fortuna, as I said, he displayed great hand speed, great power. That left hook of his is so rapid and so fast. It's unbelievable. It's like you can't see it coming. But although he was great in that fight, I did see some weaknesses that he hasn't fixed yet. And I'm talking about stepping out of the way with his chin up and his hands coming out here. Now, when you bring your chin up and you bring your hands out here, if someone feints on you and you do that, you're in a very dangerous position and you're exposed badly. And we saw that against Luke Campbell. Ryan Garcia versus Luke Campbell. He had his chin up, his hands down, and he got dropped. Right. Fortunately for Ryan Garcia, he got up and he finished Luke Campbell. But those fundamentals right there, those bad habits, mistakes right there have not been rectified. And I could see that in that fight with Javier Fortuna, against Javier Fortuna. So he doesn't want to do that against Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, Gervonta Tank Davis is one of my favorite fighters right now. And when he fought Rolly Romero, he displayed a different side to him. He displayed boxing skills, ring IQ, being smart on the back foot, baiting in Rolly into a devastating finish. And I think against Ryan Garcia, Gervonta Davis will play it a bit different, because Rolly Romero, he's very rugged, very awkward, and he punches like a truck and he comes forward. So Gervonta Davis, for the first time, had to adapt to a different game plan. And that shows the maturity in Gervonta Davis doing that. So Gervonta Davis, I would love to see that fight against Ryan Garcia. But for me, I reckon Gervonta Davis will knock out Ryan Garcia. I ain't going to predict rounds yet. It's too early to do that. And I'll probably do another breakdown when the fight gets announced, if it gets announced. So I just wanted to bring you that video today off the back of Ryan Garcia knocking out Javier Fortuna in the 6th round. Great performance. I'm not knocking the performance, but as I said, I also see the bad in it, even in a great performance.